Okay, I'm going to run through the creation of an original record here. It's not really scripted or anything. I'm just going to kind of talk through it as I go, and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it'll be helpful. Okay, I've got the OCLC connection client window open just to a uh, blank menu here. That's what I'll use to create a new record. Um, Here's some pages I turned into a PDF from my record. Here's the cover of the publication I found that isn't cataloged. It's called Cranbay in Iowa. Pronunciation of that word varies. It has been called, I've heard it's Cranby and just cram. It's a plant genus and a particular species of it that they thought might be a useful oilseed crop to grow in Iowa. I don't think it ever caught on. But here's the cover in the PDF. The title page, not the title page really in this case, it just has some listings of the Iowa Development Commission staff. It has a forward, and I have the first page of the introduction. And that's how much I have in this PDF. As an example, I look at the whole publication, of course, when cataloging. So let's go back to the menu here. We go up to the top menu bar and do cataloging. And we're going to create a single record. And there's a bunch of different formats here. There's books, computer files, continuing resources, maps. Books are by far the most common thing that I've done here. I've done continuing resources quite a bit. I've done some maps. Some of the others I've done occasionally. But this is going to be a book. It brings up a basic formatted work. It's called a work form. And you notice it says new up here in the upper left. Because we haven't entered anything yet. I'm going to type I for the descriptive. That stands for ISBD description, and E-level I. This is what's done when records are done according to RDA, and that's pretty much what I've been trying to follow. This publication does not have any illustrations. An A would go here if it had illustrations. Form is left blank in this case. If it's online, there would be an O in here for form. It is a state government publication, so I put an S in here. For any one of these, you could click on the blue link and get a drop down. This opened up in a browser. It actually went over to my other screen, but I'll show you what it opens up. The OCLC formats guides is something to be aware of. You'll see the different mark field divisions up here. You can look up any mark field, for instance, the 245, and see what the requirements and the standards are for entry in that mark field. It's a very useful thing to have. It's www.oclc.org/bibformats/en for English. So that's something it's useful to keep in mind. I'm not going to look at it right now because I don't really need to. The date is, this is S. It's a single date. Sometimes there are different kinds of dates. If a work involves more than one date, you might use another code in there. And this is from 1973. I see that on page 2, January 1973. So on 73. Language is English, ENG, and the country is IAU for Iowa, United States. This is already generated. I've set it up so that it's classify anything new as an RDA record, so I put that in there. B is the language. I'm just going to put that language code in there. This is a 041 I don't use usually. I'm going to change that to 043, which is a geographic code. Hit 042, 043. Let's do blanks. Most of my state publications about Iowa State publications, I use that. I put that field in there. 090 is going to be the call number, and I'll come back to that. This doesn't have a named author. It has a bunch of people listed on as staff of the commission. So it really doesn't have, it doesn't credit a named author. This is the research director, has the forward, but so this isn't going to have a author field in the 100. It's a corporate body that created it, but it's not considered a main entry under corporate body because it's not really about, usually those are for annual reports or some procedural publication of the actual corporate body. That gets a little complicated, but you can read up on that in various places. 245 is the title field. The first indicator is whether there's a 1XX field. Basically, there isn't. And the second field is the number of non-filing characters, like if there was a the and a space and then the first important word, there would be a 4 there. This has no non-filing characters. And I'm going to type in the title, which is Cranberry in Iowa. There's no subtitle. This would be, there would be a colon, a space colon, and then the subfield B. If there were what's called a subtitle, there isn't in this case. I'm going to put a slash, and then the subfield C, which is where the statement of responsibility comes in. This is going to be prepared by Research Division, Iowa Development Commission, the corporate body, and then this I'm going to basically ignore. .246 is for another title or an added title, some other version of the title. This doesn't have anything like that. 250 is an addition statement. It doesn't have anything like that on it. This is the 264, which is the publication information. Blank 1 is the publisher. I'm going to say this is Des Moines, even though it doesn't really say it on the piece. And subfield C and a comma. Subfield C is the date. 7/3. Okay. 300 is for the basic physical description. There are no subfields. And this is pretty straightforward pagination. Its pages are numbered 1 through 16. So I'm going to say 16 pages. Space colon and subfield B would be illustrations, maps, and so forth. It doesn't have any of that, so I'm going to go straight to the semicolon, get rid of the subfield B, and C, subfield C is the dimensions. It's 28 centimeters. 336, 337, and 338. These are the fields that were added with RDA. I'm going to do an Alt-Delete on these, delete them, and then I have a macro set up. If I put in Control-B, it brings up my macro, this is the last one I used. It's called Book 300. It'll put those fields in already filled out. So that's called a constant data record. It's not a macro. It's a constant data record. Again, you can read about how to make those in the OCLC documentation. 490 is a series statement. There's no series statement. The 5XX field, the 500 is kind of a general note field. There's a whole range of 5XX fields. If I bring my standards thing back over here and go to 5XX, you see them down the side here. You can click on any one of those and read about them. I am going to put a summary. This is a 520. And there's the first subfield indicator, an abstract if it's a scientific publication. Sometimes there's a formal abstract. Blank just means summary. It could be any kind of summary. And the second field is just a blank. So I'm going to put 520 there and 2 blanks. What I'm going to do is I took this introduction and I turned it into a Word document. I'm going to put that whole thing into my 520. Okay, it came out kind of funny because so I'm going to open Notepad and I'm going to take all of these spaces out. Do some fixing. The OCR, you really don't have to do this. It adds some information to the record. Somewhat time consuming. Just showing you something that can be done. Okay, I'm going to take these extra lines out of there. And repaste it. Okay, the 6XX fields are subject fields. I like to put at least one subject heading in, and I'll show you a way. If you go to loc.gov, go up to this menu in the upper left here, and services, go down to cataloging, cataloging classification. This is going to be a problem loading today. Let's go back here while we're waiting for that. The 7xx is the corporate body added entries and personal author added entries. I'm going to put one for the Iowa Development Commission since they created it. And a comma in the subfield E. Put issuing body. That's about it for this record. It's not going to allow us to load the Library of Congress classification schedules, which can be helpful. I'm going to try authorities.loc.gov is where you can search Library of Congress authorities. And here I clicked on search authorities. And it's the subject authority, headings, name authority. I want to search subjects. I'm going to see if that Cram Bay is in there as a, and it is. If you click on authorized and references, it'll give you, the narrow term is Crambe abyssinica. That may be the species they're talking about, but I'm not really sure from looking at the publication. So I'm just going to use Crambe. $6.50 blank 0. Subfield Z is the geographic subject heading, so I'm going to put that in there. I'm pretty much going to stop at this point because I don't really have the classification schedules. Classification schedules, yeah, see, it gave an error message. Classification schedules is what I would look at to assign a call number. So anyway, that's basically the record. I'm going to go ahead and produce this. I got an error up here. Little error. Once you've got everything entered, you can do a Control-7. Hit the Control-7 key. It checks the spelling and doesn't recognize that, but it's okay. So I just tell it ignore all. Proven. I don't know why it doesn't like proven, but Just ignore that. Ignore Crambe again. Ignore that. That's a specialized word. It just needs to change to 2. Agronomically is okay. Okay. And then if you do a shift F11, it's going to log in. That's to control the subject headings, or to control the authorized headings. And it says one or more headings were controlled. It controlled Crambe, Iowa, and the Iowa Development Commission. So that's about it. You hit F8. Doesn't like my 049. It wants, I guess, an OZA will work in there. That's the holding library. And there you see it went from new, and it has an OCLC number in there. This is in the OCLC WorldCat catalog now, and it has our holding symbol on it. I'm going to print this out and leave it because right now we really can't create the item record because there's no call number in it. But at least this video kind of demonstrates how to create an original record. And that's about it.